Hello, I'm Joe Ferguson. This is my studio in Weston. I've been doing sculpture for 60 years or so, and if you'll follow me, we'll go inside.
I'm Joe Ferguson, and I want to welcome you to my studio. Today, it's the second video that we're doing of this studio, my students, and you'll see what they've accomplished in a couple of years since our last video. So I'm going to take you around and introduce you to each of my students, and we will show you two of their pieces and how I inspired them for each one of them. So come on in. Creativity, it's not a one-stop thing. It's something that keeps happening. I'm Cynthia Chapra. These are Foxy and Sammy, and are actually turning out to memorialize them. A lot of very small work, but I think I was very successful in capturing their personalities.
It's remarkable how everybody just progresses.
I'd like to introduce Bob. Bob, how long have you been in this class?
About 5 years.
And I know you're very prolific, and I know you like to use large pieces and make large pieces of work, but what is your inspiration for this piece?
An orchid. I took it, that was the concept. The leaves on an orchid typically are big, green, they come out, and then the orchid comes up, or the stem comes up and swoops, and then you have a cluster. And somehow this is what happened with that notion in mind.
So I see that you've used different types of mediums. You have copper in here, and you have glass together.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure you have glass on glass. How did you attach those things?
Glue. Some of the glues today are spectacular, and they set very quickly. And they're clear. And in a case like this, that's where I need it. I find that curves, you instantly pick up on it with your eye, and they just make your eye follow. That's all. It flows with. And I'm always looking for that effect.
Good rhythm.
I love the movement on this piece. This is one of my favorite pieces.
Okay, Bob, so here's your other piece, other big, bold piece. Do you have a name for it, and can you give us what your inspiration was?
There's no name, but the inspiration, I was in the metal fabricating business, and I built 2 curved staircases in the Museum of Russian Icons, and this that's where this comes from, the curve, and if you will, the influence of the steps. But this is one of my favorite pieces, simply because it reminds me, every time I look at it, I have that association. And this is stained glass, brass rod, 5/32 brass rod, and then glass ball.
It's very cool. Did you glue that glass ball in there?
Yes, I'll use glue in certain places rather than solder. And yeah, this is one of those cases. And today's glues work so beautifully, this will never come off.
That's
So,
fabulous.
yeah, it works. So that's the nature of this piece. I want to say something here about Joe and his influence, okay? I love that he helped me get into a little piece of his world, if you will. And it's been one of the most gratifying things that's ever happened to me.
I'd like to introduce Richard. Richard, how long have you been in the men's group?
I started, I think, in 2017, so it's been almost 10 years, I think.
And you've done many pieces since you started, I know.
Well, I've done a couple.
Yes, you have. And so you're going to show today 2 of your latest pieces?
Yes.
Okay, please tell us about.
Okay. So Joe is big on abstracts, which is sort of compatible with what I like to do too, partly because I never felt like I could make something actually look like the thing that I intended for it to look like. This is the case where it's come closest to an actual figure. I thought I would use the idea of an octopus as the basis for these arms with all that curvature, which is sort of the abstraction part of it that I was interested in. And I didn't expect it to really look as much like an octopus as it turned out. The only issue I had is that there were only 7 arms instead of 8. So it took on the name Septopus instead of octopus.
What was the most difficult part of this creation?
Well, I guess it was taping these tiny pieces. And it was, of course, very tedious to do that many of them.
And how did you decide to choose the colors that you chose? Did you find a piece of glass you liked, or what did you do?
Well, for the arms, it seemed that focusing more on blue would be best just because it's an underwater creature, with some other colors in there for effect. This part of it, I happened to have that piece of glass, and it seemed like this was a good use for it.
So Richard, this is definitely more along the line of what Joe would like to see, very abstract. Could you tell us about this piece and what inspired you?
Yes, after doing Septopus, I went back to something that was a little bit more abstract. This one, I guess I had as an initial idea is to have some basic form to use, and it turned out to be these like crescent moon shapes. And then I wanted to position it in ways that it gave a kind of a swooping feel as it came up. You know, it just kind of grew as it's supposed to grow into the abstract piece that it is.
But I love the way that you took a little different approach with your red piece that swoops around, and then with the absence of the circle in the circle. I think that's quite cool. I love the choice of colors that you've made.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it was, I wanted to get colors that were compatible, but not too many of them. And you mentioned this swoop here. I have to admit that that was put in there after a discussion with Joe about...
Oh, really? He always has some great ideas. Okay, Tatiana, it's always wonderful to see your works. Could you tell us a little bit about how long you've been here and a little bit about the two things you brought in today?
So I'm Tatiana. I'm here for almost 8 years, and this is my last piece, which is almost done. And it took me about a couple months. You can see that this is 3D thing, which is gonna be hung on a window, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Like we're going from the countryside to the city and to the countryside again. It's like circle around. The whole project started with the bike.
With the bike, okay. Yeah. It's a lovely bike and great colors.
It's a mix of stained glass and fused glass. I mixed up different medias like fused glass, stained glass. I used the copper here. So it's so different medias, so many different medias used here that usually it's not put together.
I think it's wonderful. Okay, so Tatiana, this is your wonderful fish. Could you please tell us what your inspiration was and what you did to put it together?
I cannot say that I had whole idea right away. First of all, I saw the shape, like I made the frame, and then we added the eye first, which made added the character and added the stuff around the eye, and then scales came up and all small pieces around, which made it more shiny.
And some of the metal pieces that you put in add so much texture and rhythm to it, like around the eye, a different type of metal edging.
I like this type of framing. It's made for framing actually, but I think it works well because it's not. It adds some rhythm and adds some kind of again movement here.
The thing, the artwork itself is going to guide you.
It's my pleasure to introduce Yuko Kojima. And this is not a stained glass piece, but it's a piece that Yuko did for a flower show. And it's a fairy, Victorian fairy, and it's made completely of plant material, of which there are samples here. She won the top Botanical Arts Award for this, and it's just fabulous. So Joe saw this and wanted it to be in his second class video. It is all organic material.
Is it painted?
Yes, she painted it.
Painted it with what?
Spray paint and with acrylic paint. It has to all be botanical arts. It can be painted, and it should not really look like you just put a whole bunch of dried flowers together. It's trying to use pieces and parts and make them look like other things. And she just sort of knocked it out of the park with this. This is the second piece that Yuko Kojima was going to show today. And from the last class video that Joe had, Yuko had just started this with one big piece of wire that Joe gave her and said, you have to do something large. And she had bent it, and she was in the window on a stool to be tall enough to show this one big bend of wire that she wanted to use. She got her inspiration for this piece from a god who had a bag of wind. So this is the wind in the bag, the whole swirling effect of the glass. But this is a fabulous piece that will end up in her yard this summer.